5 days before my daughter's wedding, I accidentally discovered my family's secret plan to use me as unpaid childcare for 18 screaming children throughout the entire reception, so I decided to teach them an unforgettable lesson. On the wedding day, when my daughter called me panicking, "Mom, where are you?" I simply smiled and told them not to expect me, or the $4,000 catered feast I had secretly canceled. My name is Margaret Thompson. I'm 68 years old, and I never imagined that at this stage of my life I would need to show my own daughter such a devastating lesson about respect. For 6 months, I had been meticulously planning every detail of my daughter Jessica's perfect wedding. I had volunteered to handle the entire catering because I wanted to help them save money. I calculated it would cost me approximately $4,000 for all the premium ingredients, but I was prepared to do it out of pure love. I had also offered to design all the floral arrangements, coordinate with vendors, and transform their venue into something magical. This was my gift to them, my way of demonstrating how much I adored my daughter and how thrilled I was that she had found love again after her difficult divorce. Amanda seemed like the ideal daughter-in-law when Jessica first introduced her 18 months ago. She was always impeccably polite, addressing me as Mrs. Thompson with genuine respect. She would arrive at my home bearing beautiful flowers and eagerly offer assistance in my kitchen. "Mrs. Thompson," she would say with that enchanting smile, "please let me help with those dishes. Your cooking is absolutely divine." Jessica is incredibly fortunate to have grown up with such amazing meals. Jessica was radiantly happy. After years of painful heartbreak from her previous marriage, witnessing her fall in love again filled my heart with indescribable joy. But what I was about to discover would shatter everything I believed about this perfect family dynamic. I was in my kitchen on a Wednesday evening, finalizing the comprehensive shopping list for the wedding feast, when I heard hushed voices drifting from the back patio. Jessica was on an important conference call with her marketing team, while Amanda was deep in conversation with her younger sister Riley, who had flown in from Seattle for the wedding preparations. Initially, I paid no attention to their chatter. I was completely focused on calculating precise quantities, how many pounds of prime beef I would need for 160 guests, how many artisanal salads to prepare, how many elaborate desserts to create. But then I heard my name mentioned, and something in Amanda's tone made my blood freeze. I silently moved closer to the kitchen window that provided a clear view of the patio, carefully concealing myself behind the flowing curtains. "Listen carefully, Riley. I have orchestrated everything perfectly for managing the children at this wedding," Amanda said in that sickeningly sweet voice she always used around me. "Jessica's mom is going to supervise them throughout the entire celebration. There are approximately 18 kids coming, ranging from screaming toddlers to rebellious teenagers, but she's completely accustomed to dealing with that chaos. This way, all the adults can enjoy ourselves without any irritating disruptions from brats." Riley erupted in malicious laughter. "That's absolutely brilliant, sis. The old woman is going to wrangle all those shrieking monsters while you adults dance, drink champagne, and party all night. Perfect strategy. That way, they won't destroy the ceremony or ruin your reception photographs with their tantrums." "Exactly," Amanda continued, and her voice suddenly sounded completely different, colder, more calculating than I had ever heard. "I already convinced Jessica that her mom absolutely loves watching children and has natural talent for childcare. She never realized we're manipulating her. She's always so eager to help with whatever we need. It's like having access to a professional nanny service for the entire evening, completely free. Plus, keeping her busy with the kids means she won't interrupt any important adult conversations or bore people with her endless stories." "Wait, she actually agreed to this?" Riley asked with obvious surprise. "We never directly asked her permission," Amanda laughed with chilling cruelty. "Jessica simply mentioned casually that several children would be attending the wedding, and Margaret immediately volunteered to help if we needed any assistance. Naturally, we said yes, enthusiastically. She's absolutely perfect for grunt work like that. She has decades of experience dealing with kids, and she won't charge us a single penny." I felt as though someone had physically slapped me across the face. There I stood in my own kitchen, my hands still covered in flour from baking wedding cookies, having spent my savings, my time, and my energy to create their perfect day, while they were coldly plotting to exploit me as free domestic labor without even consulting me. But here's the most brilliant part. Amanda continued with obvious satisfaction. Since she be completely occupied chasing children all night, she won't be able to eat much of that expensive feast she's preparing. More premium food for the guests who actually matter. They both dissolved into laughter as if they had just shared the most hilarious joke imaginable. My heart was pounding so violently, I was certain they could hear it from the patio. 68 years of life experience, raising children, nurturing grandchildren, always prioritizing family needs above my own. And this was my reward, being treated like a servant who existed solely for their convenience. I remained frozen behind those curtains, feeling rage building from my toes to the top of my head. But it wasn't just anger consuming me. It was an overwhelming mixture of profound pain, crushing disappointment, and humiliation so deep it physically hurt my chest. For 18 months, I had treated Amanda like the daughter I never had. I had welcomed her into my home with open arms, included her in all our cherished family traditions, and shared the secret recipes that had been passed down through generations in my family. You know what else I absolutely love about this arrangement? Amanda continued, completely oblivious to the fact that I was listening to every single poisonous word. Since the old lady will be running around after screaming kids all night, she won't be able to insert herself into our sophisticated adult conversations. You know how mothers-in-law can be, always desperate to share their opinions about everything and telling those my stories about when Jessica was little that nobody wants to hear. Riley burst into even more vicious laughter. Oh my God, yes, my mother-in-law is exactly the same, constantly interrupting elegant conversations with her ancient anecdotes that bore everyone to tears. At least yours will actually be useful for something productive. Precisely, Amanda agreed with malicious glee. And the absolute best part is that Jessica genuinely believes her mom is volunteering out of pure love and generosity. She has no idea we manipulated this entire situation from the very beginning. Men are so incredibly naive about these things. I heard Jessica's footsteps approaching as she finished her business call. What are my two beautiful ladies laughing about? She asked in that loving voice she always used when speaking to Amanda. I was just explaining to Riley how perfectly organized everything is, Amanda replied, instantly switching back to her fake sweet persona. I've arranged everything so the guests' children won't be a problem during our wedding celebration. Your mom has graciously agreed to watch them. Mom is absolutely amazing, Jessica said with obvious pride, always willing to help our family however she can. It's incredible how she still has the energy to chase after kids at her age. Yet, it's extremely convenient having such a helpful mother-in-law, Amanda murmured with barely concealed sarcasm, but Jessica completely missed the venom in her voice. I walked away from that window feeling physically ill. I couldn't process what I had just overheard. This woman who had performed the role of perfect daughter-in-law for 18 months, who had made me feel cherished and respected, who had even called me Mom Margaret on special occasions, she actually viewed me as nothing more than free labor and an annoying obstacle to navigate around. I climbed the stairs to my bedroom on trembling legs. I sat on the edge of my bed, the same bed where I had slept beside my beloved husband for 35 years before cancer stole him from me. I gazed at the family photographs covering my nightstand. Jessica graduating from university, her first communion, our magical family vacations at the lake when she was young. I had dedicated my entire existence to being the most loving mother possible. And now, when I thought I was finally gaining a second daughter, I discovered I was merely a useful tool to be exploited. But what they didn't realize was that this 68-year-old woman had survived far worse betrayals than this, and I was about to teach them a lesson they would never, ever forget. Over the following days, I acted as though nothing had changed. When Jessica called to discuss wedding preparations, I responded with my usual warmth and enthusiasm. Yes, sweetheart, everything is progressing beautifully. The catering is going to be absolutely spectacular. When Amanda visited and said, Mrs. Thompson, please don't stress yourself too much about the wedding. Just try to relax and enjoy the celebration. I smiled serenely and nodded. Of course, darling, I'm so excited for your special day. But deep inside, a devastating plan was taking shape. If they wanted to play manipulative games, I was about to show them that I had decades more experience at strategic thinking than they could possibly imagine. On Friday morning, for days after overhearing that conversation, I called my oldest and most trusted friend, Eleanor. We had been confidants for over 45 years, supporting each other through every major life crisis. Ellie, I need to share something urgent with you. And then I need your help executing a plan, I said without any preamble. Margaret, judging by your tone, someone has definitely crossed the wrong person. Eleanor replied with immediate intrigue. Tell me everything. Immediately, I recounted the entire story from beginning to end. The conversation I had accidentally overheard, how it made me feel utterly betrayed, and how Amanda had been systematically deceiving me for 18 months. Eleanor listened in complete silence, and when I finished, she released a long, angry sigh. Margaret, that manipulative girl, is a complete snake. How dare she discuss you like that after everything you've sacrificed for their wedding? You've spent a fortune on this celebration. You've dedicated months to organizing every detail, and this is how they repay your generosity. I know, Ellie, but here's where it gets interesting. I have developed the perfect plan, and I desperately need your assistance. Name it. You know you can count on me for absolutely anything. I explained my strategy step by step. Eleanor became so excited she started applauding on the other end of the phone. Margaret, you are absolutely brilliant. That spoiled princess is going to receive the shock of her lifetime. Count me in completely. I've got your back on this mission. On Saturday, I began implementing the first phase of my revenge plan. I systematically called every single caterer and vendor I had contracted for the wedding feast. Good morning. This is Margaret Thompson. I need to cancel all orders scheduled for next Saturday's wedding. Yes, I understand it's extremely late, but an unexpected family emergency has developed. Some attempted to charge substantial cancellation fees, but I managed to cancel everything by paying only minimal penalties, a small price for the satisfaction I was about to experience. Then I contacted the premium florist, where I had ordered additional centerpieces as my personal gift. Excuse me, I need to cancel the elaborate floral arrangements for Saturday. No, I won't be needing them rescheduled. I simply won't require them anymore. On Sunday night, the evening before the wedding, I packed a small overnight bag. I carefully selected clothes for 3 days, my essential medications, my favorite novel, and several personal treasures. Jessica had called earlier to confirm all final preparations. Mom, how are all the arrangements coming along? Do you need me to come help with any last-minute details? No, sweetheart, everything is absolutely perfect. Tomorrow is going to be a truly memorable day, I replied with complete composure. Mom, you're incredible. Amanda and I don't know how we could ever thank you for everything you've done for our wedding. You don't need to thank me for anything, Jessica. Tomorrow everything will unfold exactly as it should. That night I barely slept. But it wasn't from anxiety or nervousness. It was from the exhilarating anticipation of finally reclaiming my dignity and self-respect. On Monday morning, the wedding day, I woke up earlier than I had in years. It was 4:30 a.m., and my eyes were wide open with an energy I hadn't felt in decades. I took a luxurious shower, styled my hair perfectly, and put on my most elegant dress, the stunning emerald-colored one that made me feel sophisticated and powerful. It wasn't the conservative outfit I had originally planned for the wedding, but a special ensemble I reserved for truly important occasions, and this was definitely going to be an important day. Eleanor arrived at precisely 6:30 a.m., exactly as we had arranged. She had packed 2 suitcases and wore a conspiratorial smile that filled me with courage and determination. Ready for your day of liberation, Margaret? She asked, embracing me warmly. More than ready, Ellie. I've been waiting for this moment for 18 months. Without even realizing it, we had reserved a luxury resort spa, 3 hours outside the city, an absolutely beautiful retreat with stunning mountain views, where we could completely relax and pamper ourselves. The plan included professional massages, rejuvenating facials, gourmet cuisine, and a suite with a private hot tub. Everything I had budgeted for the wedding catering. I was now investing in myself for the first time in years. Before departing, I wrote a carefully crafted letter that I left prominently on the kitchen table, positioned exactly where Jessica always sat when she visited. Dearest Jessica, by the time you discover this letter, I'll be enjoying a well-deserved retreat. For 6 months, I have meticulously prepared everything to make your wedding absolutely perfect. However, I recently learned that you and Amanda had different plans for my role in your celebration. Apparently, my assigned function for your special day was to serve as unpaid childcare for 18 children throughout the entire reception, without anyone bothering to ask if I wanted that responsibility, since the elaborate feast I promised was also part of my unconsulted duties. I have decided to cancel everything. I hope you can find a quick solution to your situation. I'll return Wednesday evening. With love. But with dignity and tact, Mom. While Eleanor loaded our luggage into her car, I took one final look around my house. I gazed at the kitchen where I had planned to cook all night preparing their feast, the dining room where I had been organizing elaborate centerpieces, the living room where I had tested different floral arrangements. All of that preparation had been done with genuine love, but that love had been misinterpreted as obligation and taken for granted. Margaret, are you absolutely certain about this decision? Eleanor asked as I settled into the passenger seat. Because once we drive away, there's no returning to fix that crisis. Ellie, I'm 68 years old. If I don't stand up for myself now, when will I ever get another chance? The drive to the mountain resort was absolutely liberating. As we watched the scenic landscape pass by our windows, Eleanor and I talked about all the experiences we had shared together over the decades. Remember, when our daughters were young, and we thought the biggest challenges were convincing them to eat their vegetables? Eleanor laughed nostalgically. I miss those simple problems, I replied thoughtfully. At least back then, when you did something out of love, it was received as love, not as servitude to be expected and exploited. We arrived at the resort at 10:30 a.m. The location was even more spectacular than the online photographs had suggested. Perfectly manicured gardens, breathtaking mountain vistas, and an atmosphere of tranquility that immediately calmed my nerves. The receptionist greeted us with champagne cocktails. Welcome, ladies. Your suites are prepared, and your spa treatments begin in 1 hour. Are you celebrating a special occasion? Yes, I replied with the most genuine smile I had felt in months. I'm celebrating my independence and self-respect. As I settled into my luxurious suite with panoramic mountain views, I began imagining what chaos was probably unfolding back in the city. The wedding was scheduled to begin at 5 p.m. But catering preparations typically started very early in the morning. Jessica would likely begin calling me around 8 a.m. to ask if I needed assistance loading all the food. At 11:45 a.m., just as I was entering my first rejuvenating massage treatment, my phone started ringing insistently. It was Jessica. I let it ring unanswered. 5 minutes later, it rang again, then again, then again. I turned the device completely off. Mrs. Thompson, is everything all right? My massage therapist asked, noticing my satisfied smile. Everything is absolutely perfect, dear. Please continue with the treatment. For the next 4 hours, I dedicated myself completely to pure self. The hot stone massage relaxed muscles I didn't even realize were tense from months of stress. The rejuvenating facial left my skin glowing with health and vitality. Eleanor and I enjoyed a gourmet lunch at the resort's elegant restaurant. Delicious cuisine that I didn't have to prepare myself, served by people who treated me with genuine respect and appreciation. You know what I'm enjoying most about this entire experience? I said to Eleanor as we sipped expensive wine on the terrace overlooking the mountains. Tell me, she encouraged. For the first time in 18 months, I'm doing exactly what I want to do, when I want to do it, without needing to ask anyone's permission or worry about whether they need me to sacrifice something else first. Eleanor raised her glass in a toast. I'll drink to that, and to the expression on Amanda's face right about now. At 3:30 p.m., I decided to turn my phone back on. I discovered 23 missed calls from Jessica, 12 desperate text messages, and surprisingly, 6 calls from Amanda, who had never called me directly in all the months I had known her. Jessica had never called me so frantically in her entire adult life, not even during her divorce crisis, or when she was in the emergency room with appendicitis. The text messages revealed an escalating pattern of panic. Mom, where are you? We've been trying to reach you all morning. Mom, I found your letter. Please call me immediately. Mom, the wedding starts in 90 minutes. Please answer your phone. Mom, where is all the food? Guests are already arriving and asking about dinner. Mom, please, can we discuss this after the ceremony? We need to solve the catering crisis right now. Mom, Amanda is having a complete breakdown. Please help us. The final message had arrived just 20 minutes earlier. Mom, I know you're angry, but there are 18 children here with no supervision, and their parents are demanding to know who's supposed to watch them. I took a deep, satisfying breath and dialed Jessica's number. She answered before the first ring completed. Mom, where are you? She screamed with a desperation I had never heard from her before. Hello, sweetheart. I'm at a beautiful mountain resort with Eleanor, enjoying a chocolate aromatherapy massage. How is your wedding celebration progressing? Mom, this cannot be happening. All the guests have arrived and there's absolutely no food anywhere. The venue coordinator is asking where the catering is supposed to be set up. Amanda won't stop crying. Oh, darling. Didn't you read my letter? I explained everything quite clearly. I canceled the catering when I discovered that my real assignment was childcare services, not being a honored guest. But Mom, the ceremony has already started. We can't cancel everything now. Jessica, you're a 42-year-old woman with a successful career and a fiancé who's apparently very skilled at organizing situations. I'm confident you'll find a solution. Perhaps there's a pizza delivery service nearby. Mom, you cannot be serious right now. Sweetheart, I have never been more serious in my entire life. Enjoy your wedding celebration. Eleanor and I are going to enjoy our spa treatments. Oh, and don't expect me back early tomorrow. We're planning to have breakfast here as well. Wait, Mom. Amanda desperately wants to speak with you. I could hear commotion, crying, and panicked voices in the background. Then Amanda's voice came through the phone, and for the first time since I had known her, she wasn't using her fake sweet tone. Margaret, you absolutely cannot do this to us. You promised the catering. There are 160 people here expecting dinner. Amanda, my dear, I replied in the calmest voice I could manage. I promised catering when I believed I was a cherished guest at your wedding. But when I discovered I was actually the unpaid domestic staff, I reconsidered my commitment. As they say, labor should be compensated, and I never received payment for my services. But what about the children? There are 18 kids here and their parents are expecting someone to supervise them. Yes, I imagine that must be incredibly challenging. Don't you have a sister who could assist you? What was her name again? I recall she had some very interesting opinions about my childcare abilities. The silence on the other end of the phone was absolutely delicious. It lasted several seconds that felt like an eternity. I could hear chaos in the background, children screaming, adults talking loudly, and what sounded like someone frantically moving furniture. How do you know about Riley? Amanda stammered, and for the first time in 18 months, her voice sounded broken and uncertain. Double quotes, oh sweetie, you learn many things when you reach 68 years old. One of the most important lessons is that walls have ears, especially when people speak so loudly on someone else's patio. Margaret, please, can we discuss this situation later? Right now, I desperately need you to, Amanda. You don't need anything from me. Based on what I overheard, what you need is professional childcare services. I suggest consulting the Yellow Pages. I believe they charge approximately $15 per hour per child. Let me calculate that for you. 18 children for 8 hours equals $2,160. Still, much less expensive than the $4,000 I spent on your catering. I heard Amanda yelling at someone in the background. Jessica, your mother has lost her mind. She claims she knows everything we discussed. Then Jessica's voice came back on the line, but now it sounded different, deeper, and more uncertain, like when she was a child and knew she had done something wrong. Mom, did you actually overhear us talking on the patio? I heard many fascinating things, sweetheart. For example, that I'm apparently an old woman who's useful for keeping busy so I don't interrupt important adult conversations. I also heard that I'm so accustomed to watching children that I wouldn't even realize you were exploiting me. And my personal favorite, that I'm like having access to free professional nanny services for the entire evening. The silence was even longer this time. Eleanor, who had been listening to the entire conversation from her chair on the terrace, gave me an enthusiastic thumbs up. Mom, Jessica began in a voice that reminded me of a scolded child. Jessica, you're 42 years old. You're an intelligent, successful woman with your own marketing company. Did it seriously never occur to you to ask me if I wanted to spend your entire wedding chasing after 18 children instead of celebrating my only daughter's marriage? We thought you enjoyed watching kids. I enjoy spending time with my grandchildren occasionally. Jessica, I don't enjoy being designated as official wedding childcare without anyone consulting me, and I definitely don't appreciate hearing that my daughter considers me a nuisance who needs to be kept busy, so I don't interfere with sophisticated conversations. Amanda didn't exactly say that. Jessica, I'm 68 years old, not senile. I heard every single word. I heard when your wife told her sister how clever she was for securing free nanny services. I heard when they laughed about how I wouldn't be able to eat much of my own cooking because I'd be too busy working. I heard when Riley said that, at least your mother would be useful for something productive. This time the silence was interrupted by a child's blood-curdling scream in the background and a woman's frantic voice shouting, "Where is the person who was supposed to supervise these kids? My son has disappeared and he's running wild through the garden." "There's your answer, sweetheart. The entertainment has begun. Mom, please come back. We'll pay you. We'll give you $1,000 to watch the children." I laughed so hard that Eleanor jumped in surprise. $1,000, Jessica. 10 minutes ago this was a family favor I was supposed to perform out of love and generosity, and now that you've realized I'm not as naive as you assumed, you want to pay me $1,000 to ruin my elegant dress chasing after children I've never met. Amanda was screaming in the background. "Margaret, offer her whatever she wants. This is a complete disaster. There isn't enough money in existence for me to attend that wedding now, but I will give you some free advice. Next time you plan to exploit someone as unpaid labor, have the courtesy to ask their permission first. It's called basic respect." $3,000, Jessica yelled, and now she sounded completely desperate and panicked. "Jessica, my darling daughter, listen to me very carefully. If you had $3,000 available to pay me for childcare services, you also had sufficient funds to hire professional catering instead of making your mother spend her retirement savings on your wedding feast. But it turns out it was much more convenient to have Mom pay for everything and work for free, wasn't it?" Eleanor poured me more wine and whispered, "You are absolutely magnificent, my friend." "Mom," Jessica's voice was now breaking with emotion, "please don't do this to me. It's my wedding day." "Jessica, I'm not doing anything to you. You and Amanda did something to me. You decided I was your personal employee without consulting me. I'm simply declining to accept that position. But we can't possibly find catering at this hour. Our guests are going to go hungry." "You know what, sweetheart? That situation is called poor planning. When you organize a wedding, you're supposed to ensure you have food and childcare arrangements. You assumed you had both services for free, but your assumptions were incorrect. Margaret, you get back to this venue immediately or we will never forgive you." Amanda screamed, and now her true personality was fully revealed. "There it is," I said to Eleanor as I covered the phone. "There's the real Amanda." I uncovered the phone and responded in the most serene voice imaginable. "Amanda, my dear, there's nothing requiring forgiveness here. You planned to exploit me. I decided not to allow myself to be exploited. It's remarkably simple. And frankly, after hearing your authentic tone of voice, I'm tremendously grateful I'm not there. You're a selfish old woman who ruined my perfect wedding." Amanda shrieked, "No, sweetie, you ruined your own wedding when you decided that saving money was more important than treating your mother-in-law with basic human respect. I simply decided not to participate in my own humiliation." Jessica took the phone back. "Mom, the children are running completely wild. One got into the kitchen and knocked over the entire wedding cake. Another one is hiding under the head table. The parents are absolutely furious. And where is that brilliant Riley? Can't she help her sister manage the children? Riley says she had no idea she was supposed to watch kids, that it was supposed to be your job. How convenient." The same Riley who was laughing that the old lady would wrangle all the screaming brats now claims she can't help. "Mom, please, Jessica, I'm ending this conversation now because my chocolate massage therapist is waiting. And unlike you and Amanda, she treats me with respect because I'm paying her for professional services." "Wait, Mom, are you really not coming back?" "I'm really not coming back. Enjoy your wedding celebration. Eleanor and I are going to enjoy our spa retreat. Tomorrow, we'll see what happens. But first, I want you to reflect seriously on what occurred here. And I want your wife to consider what it truly means to have a family. But Mom, Jessica, I must go. My massage therapist is waiting for me. And unlike you, she appreciates my business because I'm compensating her properly for her services." I disconnected the call and switched my phone to silent mode. Eleanor was applauding enthusiastically. "Margaret, that was absolutely masterful. How do you feel?" "I feel liberated, Ellie. For the first time in 18 months, I feel completely and utterly free." After ending that conversation, I sat on the resort's terrace gazing at the majestic mountains, experiencing a peace I hadn't felt in years. Eleanor watched me with a mixture of admiration and slight concern. "Margaret, are you completely certain you made the right choice?" she asked thoughtfully, sipping her wine. "I mean, I know, you are absolutely justified. But Jessica is your only daughter, Ellie, precisely because she is my only daughter, I needed to teach her this crucial lesson. If I don't establish boundaries now, Amanda will transform her into someone who treats her own mother like domestic help, and I absolutely will not permit that to happen. For the next 3 hours, my phone vibrated constantly with incoming calls and messages, but I kept it silent. Eleanor and I enjoyed our spa treatments as if nothing dramatic was happening in the outside world. The collagen facial left my skin feeling 20 years younger, and the aromatherapy massage released tension I had been carrying for years from the stress of trying to be the perfect mother-in-law. You know what strikes me as the most ironic aspect of this entire situation? I said to Eleanor while we relaxed in the hot tub watching the sunset paint the mountains in brilliant colors. What's that? For 18 months, I tried so desperately to be the ideal mother-in-law that I completely lost my own identity. I cooked what Amanda preferred. I decorated according to her aesthetic preferences. I even modified my wardrobe to match her vision of the perfect grandmother. I was so focused on pleasing her that I forgot to respect myself. I always thought that transformation seemed strange, Eleanor admitted. You, who had always been so independent and straightforward, suddenly appeared to be seeking approval for everything. You were absolutely right. And the cruel irony is that the more I tried to please Amanda, the less she respected me. For her, my eagerness to help was a weakness to be exploited, not love to be appreciated. At 8:30 p.m., I finally checked my phone again. I had 47 missed calls, 31 text messages, and several voicemails from numbers I didn't recognize. Apparently, some relatives had obtained my number to try convincing me to return and salvage the situation. The messages revealed an escalating pattern of desperation. Jessica, Mum, we had to order pizza for everyone. We spent $1,800 on emergency pizza delivery. Jessica, 3 families have already left angry because no one could supervise their children. Jessica, Amanda locked herself in the bathroom crying. She says you destroyed the most important day of her life. Jessica, Mom, the photographer is asking if we can take family photos. I told him grandmother couldn't attend. An unknown number, Mrs. Thompson. This is Robert, Amanda's father. Please come help us. My daughter is devastated. Another unknown number, Margaret. This is Riley. I know you overheard our conversation. Please forgive us. We were just joking around. I actually laughed while reading Riley's message. Joking, planning to exploit someone as free labor is a very expensive joke indeed. But the message that surprised me most was from a number I didn't recognize. Mrs. Thompson, this is Sandra, mother of one of the children at your daughter's wedding. Several parents and I are extremely upset because we were told someone would be supervising the children, and it turns out there's no childcare at all. Some families have already left. What they did to you is completely unacceptable. Look at this, Ellie. I showed the message to Eleanor. Apparently I'm not the only person who thinks their behavior was wrong. Of course not. Any decent person would realize that treating the bride's mother that way is absolutely unacceptable. At 9:30 p.m., as we were dining in the resort's elegant restaurant, my phone rang again. This time it was a number I recognized. My sister Helen, who lived across the country. Margaret, what in heaven's name is happening? Jessica called me sobbing, saying you didn't attend her wedding. Helen had always been refreshingly direct and honest with me. I told her the complete story from beginning to end, including the conversation I had overheard and exactly how it made me feel. Margaret, you did absolutely the right thing, she said without a moment's hesitation. If our parents were alive, they would have marched over there personally to give Jessica a piece of their mind. Nobody treats their mother like that, especially after everything you sacrificed for that family. Do you really think I made the right decision, Helen? Margaret, I've known Jessica since she was born. She's fundamentally a good person, but that Amanda woman has been manipulating her completely. It was past time for someone to open her eyes to reality. And if that someone had to be you, her own mother, then so be it. Helen informed me that other relatives had already learned about the situation because Jessica had been calling everyone desperately, seeking help. Most of the family is on your side. Margaret, cousin Dorothy says Amanda always seemed fake and calculating. Nephew Michael is furious with Jessica for treating you so disrespectfully. After talking with Helen, I felt even more confident in my decision. I wasn't being a cruel mother. I was being a mother who respects herself and teaches her daughter to do the same. At 10:30 p.m., Eleanor and I retired to our luxurious suites. I had a beautiful room with a private balcony overlooking the moonlit mountains. I put on my most comfortable nightgown, poured myself a glass of wine from the complimentary bottle, and sat on the balcony to gaze at the stars. My phone continued vibrating with incoming messages, but it no longer bothered me. Each vibration confirmed that I had made the correct decision. If Jessica and Amanda were truly remorseful about their behavior, they would have sent sincere apologies instead of continuing their attempts to manipulate me into solving their crisis. Finally, at 11:30 p.m., I decided to read all the messages that had accumulated over the past 4 hours. The desperation was palpable. Jessica, Mom, the wedding is officially over. It was a complete disaster. Jessica, the children destroyed 3 centerpieces and ruined 2 guests' expensive outfits. Jessica, Riley had to help with some of the kids, and she's absolutely furious with us. Jessica, Amanda says she'll never forgive me for letting my mother ruin her wedding. Jessica, Mom, why are you doing this to me? I thought you loved me unconditionally. That final message pierced my heart, but it also confirmed that Jessica still didn't understand the fundamental issue. This wasn't about love, it was about respect. I could love my daughter with every fiber of my being, while simultaneously refusing to allow her to disrespect me. I decided to respond to only that last devastating message. Jessica, it's precisely because I love you that I won't permit you to treat me like hired help. A daughter who truly loves her mother doesn't plan to exploit her without consultation. A daughter who loves her mother doesn't allow her wife to mock and ridicule her. I love you deeply, but I also love myself, and it was time you learned that. The response came within minutes. Mom, Amanda is saying maybe we should move to another state. She says she can't live in the same city as someone who destroyed her wedding. I read that message several times before responding. Amanda was playing her ultimate card, emotional blackmail, threatening to take Jessica away from me as punishment for something that was entirely their doing. Jessica, if Amanda wants to relocate because she can't face the consequences of her own actions, that's a decision you two must make as adults. But understand that a woman who truly loves you would never threaten to separate you from your family as punishment for something you didn't even do. No response came after that. I remained on the balcony until very late, listening to the peaceful sounds of nature and feeling profound tranquility. For the first time in 18 months, I wasn't worried about whether I had pleased someone else. I wasn't planning what I could cook for Jessica tomorrow, what favor I could do for Amanda, or how I could be a better mother-in-law. I was thinking about me, about Margaret, the 68-year-old woman who had raised a wonderful daughter, maintained a loving marriage for 35 years, survived widowhood with dignity, and deserved to be treated with respect by her own family. That night, I slept more peacefully than I had in months. On Tuesday morning, I woke with an unusual sensation. I felt genuinely rested and at peace. It had been so long since I woke up without that constant anxiety about what I needed to do to keep everyone happy. Eleanor and I had planned to meet for breakfast at 9 a.m., but I was already awake at 6:30, enjoying the silence and the magnificent mountain view from my balcony. My phone had remained quiet all night, which seemed more significant than all the frantic messages from the previous day. Either Jessica had finally understood my message, or she was so angry that she had decided not to communicate with me anymore. Both possibilities seemed preferable to continuing to receive manipulative messages. When Eleanor and I met at the resort restaurant for breakfast, she studied my face carefully. You look different, Margaret. Lighter somehow. I feel different, Ellie. It's as if I've been carrying an enormous weight on my shoulders for 18 months and finally set it down. We ordered a complete breakfast with fresh fruit, yogurt, gourmet pancakes, and premium coffee. While we ate, we discussed everything except the wedding. We talked about our plans for the coming months, books we wanted to read, trips we had always dreamed of taking but postponed to be available for our family's needs. You know what, Ellie? I think we should take that European trip we've always planned. Seriously, you're not going to wait to see if Jessica and Amanda need you to babysit their future children. Jessica is 42 years old. If she decides to have children, she can hire professional childcare like all responsible adults do. I'll be available as a grandmother when I choose to be, not as unpaid domestic staff. After breakfast, we decided to extend our stay slightly longer. We booked the private spa suite for 2 additional hours and spent the morning in complete relaxation and rejuvenation. It was the first time in years I had devoted so much time exclusively to my own well-being. At noon, as we were packing to return home, I turned my phone back on. There were 4 new messages, all from Jessica, sent early that morning. Mom, Amanda and I talked all night. She's deeply hurt, but she admits we may not have treated you properly. Can we talk when you return? Mom, I've been thinking about everything you said. Maybe we took you for granted. Mom, several guests asked where you were. I was too embarrassed to tell them the truth. Mom, please call me when you get this. I need to apologize properly. The messages were different, less desperate, more reflective, but I noticed something important. There was no genuine apology yet, just an admission that maybe they hadn't treated me well, maybe wasn't sufficient for what had occurred. I decided not to respond immediately. I wanted to return home, settle into my own environment, and think carefully about what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it. The drive home was peaceful. Eleanor and I discussed what this weekend had meant for me. You know the most important thing I learned, Ellie. You can love your family and establish boundaries simultaneously. For all these years, I believed that loving someone meant saying yes to everything they requested. But now, I understand that sometimes loving someone means saying no. That's a lesson many women of our generation need to learn. Eleanor replied thoughtfully. We were raised to believe our worth depended on how much we sacrificed for others. I arrived home at 4:30 p.m. The house felt different, as if it had been empty much longer than 3 days. I made myself tea, changed into comfortable clothes, and settled into my favorite armchair in the living room. It was time to decide what would happen next. At 6:15 p.m., the doorbell rang. I looked out the window and saw Jessica's car in my driveway. She stood at my door alone, her head down, looking exhausted. I took a deep breath and opened the door. "Hi, Mom," she said softly. She looked as if she hadn't slept in days. "Hello, Jessica. Come in." We sat in the living room, her on the sofa, me in my armchair. The silence stretched for several minutes until Jessica finally spoke. "Mom, I owe you a sincere apology. I'm listening. Amanda and I talked all night after the wedding disaster. Initially, she was furious with you. But when I told her exactly what you had overheard, she realized how terrible everything she said sounded. And you realized it too." Jessica lowered her head further. "Yes, Mom. I realized that for 18 months I've been treating you like you were my employee instead of my mother. How does that make you feel?" "I feel horrible. I feel ashamed. Dad would be rolling over in his grave seeing how I treated the woman he loved for 35 years. That mention of her father touched my heart, but I maintained my composure. "Jessica, I need you to understand something crucial. This isn't just about what happened with the wedding. This is about 18 months of assuming I was available for everything without ever asking if I wanted to participate. I know, Mom, and you're absolutely right. When Amanda suggested asking you to help with something, I never stopped to consider if it was fair to you. I just thought, Mom always says yes, so it's not a problem. And Amanda, how does she really feel about this situation?" Jessica sighed deeply. She's genuinely ashamed. She says she's never had a mother-in-law before and didn't know how to navigate the relationship, but she acknowledges that what she said about you to Riley was completely wrong. Jessica, does she truly acknowledge that, or are you trying to soften what she actually thinks? No, Mom. She genuinely recognizes it. In fact, she wants to come apologize to you personally. But I told her I needed to speak with you first. I stood and walked to the window. My garden looked neglected. I had been so busy with wedding preparations that I hadn't had time to tend my flowers. "Jessica, I need to ask you a very direct question, and I want complete honesty. Ask me anything. Mom, does Amanda respect me as a person? Or does she view me as a useful resource who's available whenever she needs something?" Jessica was quiet for a long moment. "Mom, I think until the wedding disaster, those two things had become confused in her mind, but after seeing the consequences of treating you as a resource, she realized she had lost sight of the person. And you, do you see me as your mother or as your personal problem solver?" "Mom, that question hurts, but I understand why you're asking. The honest answer is that, for these 18 months, without realizing it, I began seeing you more as someone who fixed my problems than as my mother who deserved to be consulted and respected." I sat back down and looked directly into her eyes. "Jessica, I appreciate your honesty, but I need you to understand that things must change from now on. I understand completely, Mom. What do you need from us? I need you to ask me if I can and want to do something the next time you want a favor, not assume I'll automatically say yes. I need to be treated as a guest at your family events, not as service staff. And I need Amanda to understand that I am her wife's mother, not her employee. All of that is completely fair, Mom. Is there anything else? Yes. I need you to understand that I have the right to say no without providing explanations. And when I say no, you won't try to manipulate me or make me feel guilty to change my mind. Understood? Yes, Mom. Absolutely. And Jessica, one final thing. The next time Amanda speaks disrespectfully about me to anyone, you will defend me. You won't remain silent while your wife disrespects me. Jessica nodded vigorously. You're absolutely right, Mom. I should have defended you from the beginning. We sat in silence for several minutes. I could see Jessica processing everything we had discussed. Mom, do you forgive me? Jessica, you are my daughter, and I will always love you. But forgiveness is built through actions, not just words. I need to see genuine changes in how you treat me before I can say all is forgiven. That's completely fair. And Amanda, will you give her a chance to apologize? If she wants to apologize sincerely, not because you asked her to, but because she's truly sorry for how she treated me, then yes, I will listen. She does want to, Mom. But she's afraid you'll reject her, Jessica. I don't reject people who apologize genuinely, but I also don't accept fake apologies just to maintain peace. I understand. When would be appropriate for her to visit? Give her a few days to think carefully about what she wants to say. And Jessica, make sure she understands that I don't expect us to pretend we're best friends overnight. I just expect basic respect. Jessica stayed longer. And for the first time in months, we had a real conversation between mother and daughter, not employer and employee. She told me how she felt during the wedding, watching guests wonder where the food was and why children were running unsupervised. Mom, when parents started asking me where the childcare supervisor was, I realized we had never asked if you wanted that responsibility. We just assumed. And how did that make you feel when you realized that? I felt like an idiot, Mom. And I was ashamed that my own mother had to teach me such a basic lesson about respect. When Jessica left that evening, I reflected on our conversation. She seemed genuinely remorseful, but I also knew apologies come easily when you're facing consequences. The real test would be whether changes lasted beyond this crisis. The following week was remarkably quiet. No calls requesting favors, no messages assuming I would be available for something. It was strange but liberating. For the first time in 18 months, my days belonged entirely to me. On Thursday afternoon, Jessica called. Mom, Amanda would like to visit tomorrow afternoon, if you're willing. Is she certain she wants to do this, or does she feel obligated? She's certain, Mom. She's been very reflective these past days, thinking about everything that happened. Fine. Tell her to come at 3 p.m. Thank you. Mom, it means everything to both of us that you're giving her this opportunity. Jessica, I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for myself because I want to know if this situation can be resolved, or if I need to accept that my daughter-in-law and I will never have a functional relationship. On Friday at exactly 3 p.m., the doorbell rang. When I opened it, I was surprised by Amanda's appearance. She looked completely different from her usual self. No makeup, hair in a simple ponytail, wearing jeans and a plain blouse. But most notably, her expression had changed. Gone was that perfect smile she always displayed. She looked vulnerable, almost fragile. Hello, Mrs. Thompson, she said quietly. Thank you for agreeing to see me. Come in, Amanda. Sit wherever you're comfortable. She perched on the edge of the sofa as if ready to flee at any moment. I settled into my armchair and waited. I don't know where to begin, she admitted after minutes of silence. Start wherever feels right. Mrs. Thompson, I want to apologize for everything I said about you. It was cruel, disrespectful, and completely unfair. And why did you say those things? Amanda lowered her head. Because I'm 28 years old and I've never had a mother-in-law before. My mom died when I was 16, and my father remarried someone who never accepted me. When I met Jessica and then you, I didn't know how to handle having a maternal figure again. And your solution was to treat me like hired help. It wasn't conscious, Mrs. Thompson. Initially, you intimidated me tremendously. You're so confident, so capable at everything, so beloved by the entire family. I felt like I could never measure up to your standards. Amanda, that doesn't explain why you spoke about me that way to your sister. Amanda remained silent for a long moment, and when she spoke, her voice was barely audible. Because when you feel insecure, sometimes you try to feel better by making others seem less important. I know it sounds horrible, but it's the truth. At least you're being honest. Mrs. Thompson, when you didn't appear at the wedding, and I read your letter, I realized something terrible. I realized I had been trying to turn Jessica into someone who prioritized my comfort over her own mother's well-being. That's fundamentally wrong. And how do you feel about that realization? I feel ashamed. I feel guilty. And I feel sad because I lost the opportunity to have a genuine relationship with the woman who raised the person I love. Tears began flowing down her cheeks, and for the first time since I'd known her, they seemed authentic rather than calculated. Amanda, I appreciate your honesty, but I need to ask something directly. Do you actually want a relationship with me, or do you just want to resolve this so Jessica will be happy? Initially, I'll admit, I just wanted to fix things so Jessica wouldn't be upset. But these past days, I've been thinking extensively, and I realized I also lost something valuable. I lost the chance to have a mother figure again. Amanda, I can't replace your mother. Your mother died, and no one can fill that void. But I can be a mother-in-law who respects you and expects respect in return. That's all I want. Mrs. Thompson, mutual respect and an opportunity to start fresh. Are you truly prepared to change how you treat me? Yes. I won't assume you're available to help us anymore. I'll ask before planning anything involving you. And I'll try to include you as family, not as service staff. And what happens when I say no to a request? Then I'll respect your decision without trying to make you feel guilty. We sat quietly for several minutes. I could see Amanda waiting for my response, but I needed time to process her words. Amanda, I'll be completely honest, I don't trust you yet. You'll need to demonstrate through actions that these changes are genuine, not just words to escape trouble. I understand completely. What do you need me to do? I need time. I need to observe how you treat me over the coming months when you're not in crisis mode. Can you give me that opportunity? Yes, absolutely. And Mrs. Thompson, is there anything specific I can do to begin rebuilding your trust? I considered her question carefully. Double quotes, yes. I want you to tell your sister Riley exactly what happened. Not a sanitized version, but the complete truth. I want her to understand that what you said about me was wrong. Amanda nodded immediately. I already did that, Mrs. Thompson. I called her Monday and explained everything. She wants to apologize to you too. I don't need Riley's apology. I don't know her well enough for her opinions to matter. But I do need her to understand she cannot speak about me disrespectfully when she visits my home. She understands. She's actually quite ashamed of what she said. Good. Is there anything else you want to tell me? Yes. I want to thank you for teaching us this lesson. I know it wasn't your responsibility to educate us about respect, but you did it in a way we'll never forget. Amanda, I didn't set out to teach anyone anything. I simply wanted to be treated with dignity, and I had every right to demand that. Mrs. Thompson, do you think someday we might have a normal mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationship? That will depend entirely on you, Amanda. I'm willing to try. If you genuinely change, I will change. I promise. Don't promise me anything. Just show me. Amanda rose to leave, but before reaching the door, she turned back. Mrs. Thompson, may I ask you something? What is it? How can I be a good daughter-in-law? I honestly don't know how. Her question surprised me with its simplicity and sincerity. Amanda, being a good daughter-in-law is the same as being a good person. Treat others how you want to be treated. Ask before assuming. Respect boundaries. And remember that behind every favor someone does for you is a person who chose to help. May I ask you questions when I'm uncertain about something? If they're genuine questions and not disguised manipulation. Yes, thank you, Mrs. Thompson. Thank you for everything. When Amanda left, I sat in my living room feeling cautiously hopeful, yet emotionally drained. The conversation seemed sincere, but only time would reveal if the changes would be lasting. The following months became a true test of their sincerity. For the first time in 18 months, Jessica and Amanda didn't call requesting favors. No messages assuming my availability. Initially, I wondered if they were angry and punishing me with silence, but I gradually realized they were simply respecting my space as they never had before. The first real test came 6 weeks later when Jessica called one Friday evening, nervous tension evident in her voice. Mom, I need to ask you a favor. My heart sank slightly. Were they reverting to old patterns? What do you need, Jessica? Amanda's birthday is Saturday, and I want to throw her a surprise party. Could you help me with the decorations? You have such incredible taste for these things." I was pleasantly surprised. Jessica had already handled most arrangements herself. She was just asking for specific help with something she knew I excelled at. "Jessica, are you asking me to organize the entire party?" "No, Mom, absolutely not. I've hired caterers, booked the venue, and sent invitations. I just need help with decorations because you're so talented at that. But obviously, I'll compensate you for your time and expertise." I was amazed. Jessica had done the work herself and was offering payment while giving me an easy exit strategy. "Jessica, you don't need to pay me for helping with decorations. That's something I can contribute as a gift for Amanda. But I appreciate that you asked, instead of assuming you would really help me." "Of course, it sounds like a thoughtful gesture. Thanks, Mom. And if at any point it becomes too much work, just tell me and I'll hire professionals." That conversation confirmed the changes were real. Jessica had learned to plan her own events, not assume my availability, and offer compensation for my time. Most importantly, she had learned to give me an out without guilt. Amanda's surprise party was a revelation. Jessica and I spent Saturday morning decorating the community center with silver and gold balloons and elegant flower arrangements. She had purchased all materials and simply needed my creative input on color coordination and placement. "Mom, this looks absolutely beautiful," Jessica said as we hung the final string lights. "Amanda will be thrilled." "I hope so. It's clear you love her very much." "I do, but I also learned that loving my wife doesn't mean disrespecting my mother." When Amanda arrived that evening, expecting just an intimate dinner, her surprise and joy were genuine and moving. Seeing the decorated venue and all her friends waiting, she began crying with happiness. "I can't believe you did all this," she exclaimed, embracing Jessica. "Mom helped me with the decorations," Jessica said immediately. "She has incredible artistic talent." Amanda approached and gave me a sincere hug. "Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. Everything looks absolutely gorgeous. It was my pleasure to help, Amanda. Happy birthday." During the party, I observed how Jessica and Amanda interacted with me. They included me in conversations, introduced me to friends as Jessica's mother with pride, not as decoration assistants. They seated me at the main table as family, not separately as hired help. The most significant moment came when one of Amanda's friends complimented the decorations. "Amanda, you have exquisite taste. Where did you learn to decorate so beautifully?" "Actually, it was Mrs. Thompson who designed everything," Amanda replied immediately. "She has natural artistic talent. I was just fortunate she helped. Instead of taking credit for my work, Amanda gave it to me entirely." It was a small but meaningful change, showing she truly understood the lesson. 6 months after the wedding disaster, I received an unexpected call from Sandra, the mother who had texted me during the wedding. "Mrs. Thompson, I hope you remember me. I'm Sandra, the mother of one of the children from your daughter's wedding." "Of course, I remember you, Sandra. How are you?" "I'm wonderful, thank you. I'm calling because I wanted to share something with you." "Do you remember Robert, Amanda's father?" "Yes. What about him?" "We actually met at the wedding while trying to supervise our children together. We started discussing what happened with you, and we both agreed their treatment was completely unacceptable. We've been dating since then, and he's shared more details about the situation. I wanted you to know." He also confronted Amanda about how she treated you. I laughed softly. "Really?" Amanda's father defended me. "Yes, quite strongly. He told Amanda that you had been incredibly generous preparing the catering, and that exploiting you as childcare without consent was unacceptable. He said he felt deeply ashamed learning the complete story." "I'm glad to hear that, Sandra." "Mrs. Thompson, all of us parents at that wedding were impressed by your courage. Not many people would have the strength to stand up for themselves like that. Sometimes you must defend yourself regardless of age." "Exactly. We wanted you to know we deeply respect you for that." That call filled me with unexpected satisfaction. I hadn't just defended my dignity with family, my example had resonated with others who witnessed the situation. 9 months after the wedding, Amanda invited me to lunch, just the two of us. We met at a quiet cafe near my home, and during our meal, we had the most honest conversation we'd ever shared. "Mrs. Thompson, may I tell you something personal?" "Of course, Amanda. Since the wedding, I've been attending therapy." "Really? Why?" "Because I realized I have serious issues relating to maternal figures. After my mom died, I developed defense mechanisms that included devaluing older women to protect myself emotionally. that explains many things. Yes, my therapist helped me understand why I felt so threatened by you initially. You represented everything I lost when my mom died. Instead of allowing myself to grieve properly, I decided to act as if mothers weren't important. Amanda, that must have been incredibly painful. It was, but I didn't realize it. I thought I had processed my mom's death, but I had actually just buried the pain. How do you feel now? I feel freer, and I feel grateful to have a second chance with you, Amanda. I really appreciate you sharing this with me, and I'm glad you're working on yourself. Mrs. Thompson, would you allow me to start over as if we're meeting for the first time? What do you mean? I want to genuinely know you, your stories, your dreams, your opinions, not as the mother-in-law who might be useful, but as Margaret the person. I would like that very much. Mrs. Thompson, may I ask you something? Ask anything you want. What dream did you abandon when you focused entirely on family? The question surprised me with its depth and insight. I always wanted to write a cookbook featuring my grandmother's recipes and our family stories, but I always found excuses not to begin. Why don't you start now? Mrs. Thompson, you taught me it's never too late to stand up for yourself and change a situation. Maybe it's never too late to pursue a dream either. That conversation planted a seed in my mind. Over the following weeks, I seriously considered writing that cookbook I had always wanted to create. 1 year after the disastrous wedding, Jessica and Amanda invited me to dinner for special news. Mom, we're pregnant, Jessica announced with enormous joy. How wonderful, I exclaimed, hugging them both. I'm going to be a grandmother. Mrs. Thompson, Amanda said, taking my hands, we want to ask you something important. Tell me, we want you to be the grandmother who chooses her level of involvement. We won't assume anything. We won't expect you to babysit when we want date nights. We want you to decide what kind of grandmother you want to be. And if you want to be the grandmother who visits weekly for tea and stories, that's perfectly fine, Jessica added. If you want to occasionally watch the baby, that's also wonderful. You decide completely. I was moved to tears. Girls, that's all I ever wanted, the freedom to choose how to love my family. What do you choose, Mrs. Thompson? Amanda asked. I choose to be a grandmother who's available when you truly need me, but who also has her own life, plans, and dreams. Perfect, Jessica said. That's exactly what we hoped. 18 months after the disastrous wedding, I published my cookbook titled Cooking with Love, Serving with Dignity, Recipes and Reflections from a Modern Grandmother. Amanda helped promote it on social media, and Jessica organized a launch party at their home. During the book presentation, I reflected on everything that had transpired since that afternoon when I overheard that conversation on my patio. This book, I told the gathered guests, isn't just about recipes. It's about the importance of maintaining dignity while serving people we love. It's about understanding the difference between giving from love and being exploited for convenience. After the presentation, Amanda approached me, Mrs. Thompson. I have a confession. What's that? The person who most inspired this book was you. Your courage to stand up for yourself taught me that you can love deeply while also respecting yourself. Amanda, that means everything to me. Mrs. Thompson, may I call you Grandma Margaret from now on? I would be honored, sweetheart. That evening, as I signed copies of my cookbook, I realized that the decision not to attend that wedding had been the best choice I'd made in years. I hadn't just regained my dignity. I had taught my family the true meaning of mutual respect. Now I'm 69 years old with a grandchild on the way, a published book, and a family that treats me as the respected matriarch I always should have been. Sometimes saying no is the most powerful way to say yes to yourself.